Hey guys, it's Haley and welcome to another bookish video. Today I'm going to be filming another one of my favorite type of videos to film. These are not just your average book recommendation video. This is a part of my top 12 series where I zero in on a specific trope or subgenre of horror and thriller book and give you my top 12 recommendations in that category. I have so many fun stalker books to recommend you today, and these are not going to be like obsession or fatal attraction tropes. Those are coming later. Actually, later this month you will get top 12 recommendations for those kind of tropes. This is pure stalker vibes, creepy stalker characters in their purest form. And I can't wait to tell you all about my favorite books in that category. But before we get into the books, I want to let you know about today's sponsor, which is Dossier yet again, but we're not talking about perfumes today. I have a new product to show you from Dossier. Of course, it comes in its cute packaging as always, but they are now coming out with room diffusers, and they're in all of the same signature scents that you love from Dossier in their perfumes. If you're not familiar with Dossier, they take luxury designer fragrances that you love, name brand fragrances, give them to you at a more affordable price. So this room diffuser that I have here is floral honeysuckle, and oh my gosh, it smells exactly like Gucci Bloom. It smells so good. So we have our little diffuser rods here, and voila, now my entire apartment is gonna smell like Gucci Bloom. I absolutely love the room diffusers. I think they're a great addition. If you already love the perfumes and you smell like your favorite Dossier fragrance, have your apartment smell like it too. They have three main ambiances with these room diffusers. You can either go the cozy route with woody sandalwood, which smells exactly like Santal 33, or ambery vanilla, which smells like a YSL perfume. Or you can go warm, sweet, and floral with their scents that smell like Lost Cherry from Tom Ford or Victor and Ralph's Flower Bomb. Or you can be like me and get a vivid floral scent, and it literally, the best way I can describe it is like a fancy boutique. That is what this smells like. If you've smelled Gucci Bloom, then you know. And then they also have their floral marshmallow scent in the room diffuser as well. And that is another one of my favorites, and I know that it's super popular right now. It smells exactly like Killian's Love Don't Be Shy. So if any of these scents sound good to you and you want your entire apartment to smell like a luxury fragrance and not just yourself, then go ahead and check out my link down below. These retail for $34, which I think is pretty good for a room diffuser, but you can also get some more money off with my code. Check it out down below, and thank you so much to Dossier's diffuser line for sponsoring this video. Now let's go ahead and get into the book recommendations. Oh my gosh, I love stalker tropes in my thrillers and horror books. There's something about that undeniable, will stop at nothing obsession of a stalker that just drives a story forward and brings the pacing to a level that I enjoy. I like really fast-paced books, and pretty much all of these are super fast-paced. We have to start with, I feel like, the OG stalker thriller, and that is You by Caroline Kepnes. I love the book. I love the show. I love Joe Goldberg. If you don't know what You is about, we are following our iconic main character, Joe Goldberg, who is a stalker. He sees a woman, I believe in a bookstore is what happens in the first one, but I really recommend the whole series. I'm one of those weird people who likes every single book and not just the first one. But he sees Beck in a bookstore, and he gets so obsessed with her, starts stalking her, builds up this relationship with her in his head. He is just a crazy stalker, and things go off the rails from there. Really, this book is so character driven. Like, if you are on board with Joe, then you're on board with the story and you're gonna enjoy it. And I feel like it's the quintessential stalker book. We're literally following stalker POV. It's written in second person perspective. So you are doing this, you are doing that, which adds a lot of creep factor to the book. And I feel like I could not make this list without starting out with this one. Next up, I want to talk about a recent read, and that is Never Lie by Frida McFadden. Now, I have my beef with Frida McFadden. If you don't know about that, I will link my Frida McFadden taste test up above and down below so you can check that out and catch up with all of the drama. Basically, Frida McFadden has been accused of alleged plagiarism. Some of her stories sound really uncomfortably similar to really popular works. So ethically, the jury's out. But when I read her book, Never Lie, I couldn't think of anything that it might have been inspired by. I actually really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars and it was a fun time. The twist totally caught me off guard. In this book, we're following 2 perspectives. We're following a couple who is here at this like open house to try to meet up with their realtor to see if they want to purchase it. And then we're following the therapist who used to live in that house, who now has gone missing. No one knows what happened to her. And it turns out that she was dealing with a situation where one of her clients got a little out of hand, which for me as a therapist, personally, that is like so scary to think about, a client getting obsessed with you and like showing up at your doorstep. Oh my God. But we don't know if the stalker is actually the reason why she's missing. And then there are also creepy things going on in the house in present day with this couple. We don't know if someone's been squatting there. And of course, you're led to believe the whole time that it's the stalker. But these twists, I'm telling you, it sounds like I'm spoiling it, but it is not that predictable. It will catch you off guard. It's not like a 5-star phenomenal book, but it was a super fun thriller for me. Next up, we're going to talk about probably what I would think is my most controversial pick for this video, and that is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. And I know what you're thinking. This is not a stalker book, but to me, in fact, it is. There's so much crippling obsession going on in this book with our main character. We are following an unreliable narrator, and she is this like famous girl, or like her mom is famous, and so she's like famous by association, and she is rich and privileged, and she had this public breakdown. So her mom is like, go to our lake house, you're banished there, you're a PR nightmare. And she's just sitting in this lake house drinking herself to death because she cannot deal with what's going on in her life. And the only activity that she hyperfixates on while she's there is watching the couple across the lake in their lake house, which is all like clear glass windows. It's like this beautiful modern lake house. So she just literally sits there with her binoculars and watches them all day. And that is the perspective that we're following. And to me, that is a little bit stalkerish. I feel like sitting in your house all day, drinking with binoculars, looking at the neighbors, you're stalking them at that point. You know all of their movements. At one point, she starts like writing them down on a log. I'm like, girlie, face the facts, you're a stalker. But the story takes a huge turn when all of a sudden she wakes up to watch the neighbors one day and the wife isn't there. So she's trying to figure out what happened to her, and it is nothing like you would think. This book is ridiculous. It's fun. You definitely have to suspend your disbelief. This is not serious in the slightest, but I had so much fun with it. Dipping our toes into horror, I wanted to recommend Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach, and this is one of my favorite books of 2022. It was one of the best ones of last year. It was so good. Easy 5-star. Basically, in this book, we are following this little boy, and in his class, everyone, to like practice their writing, sent a little pen pal letter, attached it to a balloon, and it like floated away, and then whoever's house it landed at in the neighborhood, that was their pen pal. Well, the house that our main character's balloon ended up at, let's just say it's not an ideal pen pal. And this pen pal cannot drop this child. They start sending him weird, creepy things, not your typical age-appropriate pen pal letters. And this person ends up following him for his entire life. So we get to see how that affects him, not only as a child, but growing up and throughout his life. It is so dark, so disturbing, and I'm obsessed with it. The next one is also a recent read, and that is Only the Stains Remain by Ross Jeffrey. Oh my God, this book. It's super, super short. I think it's like less than 200 pages. So it's this little horror novella, and it's about this guy, and him and his brother were absolutely tortured, abused, just horrific things happened to them growing up at the hands of their dad and their uncles, which it's never really clear if these are real uncles or just like creepy men that the dad let in his kids' lives. And now that he's grown up, he wants to go back and get his revenge for all the childhood trauma that they inflicted upon him and the brother. So he sets out to stalk them each down and take care of them. It's super graphic, and it's just like this cathartic release of seeing someone tackle their little demons and like thinking of the horrible things that happened to you in your life and the way that you just want to like go back and slash and get your revenge to the things that hurt you in order to heal. That is the theme of this book. And as he's stalking them down, it's like scenes of him hiding in the bushes and like trying to lure them out. It is so stalker vibes, but put kind of like a childhood trauma twist on it. And obviously because of those themes, do be aware of trigger warnings going into that one. Next up, we have Creep by Jennifer Hillier. I love this one. We're following a woman, and she ends up having an affair with her TA. She's a professor, and so her teaching assistant and her are having this affair, but then her rich ass fiance proposes to her, and she's like, I gotta go be with rich daddy, sorry, bye. And she breaks up with the TA. Well, he takes that personally, and he starts stalking her the house down, but this is no ordinary like jilted lover. He has a secret. He is involved in some pretty scary stuff, and while that stuff does get revealed, I think in like the second or third chapter, I feel like you should go in blind and let it take you by surprise, because yeah. If you like a killer stalker POV, because we're switching back and forth from like our little girly who has no idea what's happening and this creep of a man, you're gonna love this one. Super intense, kept me gripped till the very, very end, and it has a sequel that I really enjoyed as well. Another horror rec is It's Me, Charlie by C.M. Guadros. I literally am so bad at pronouncing names, so sorry. But this person, she is phenomenal and amazing. I've heard people describe this little novella as extreme horror. To me, I don't know if I would call this necessarily extreme. I think this is on the light end of extreme. It's not too graphically violent. A lot of the violence takes place off page. However, it is very, very, very gross. So if you don't like body horror and nasty stuff, you probably would not like this one. But we're following this guy, Charlie, is who he catfishes as, and he pretends to be on the internet, but he's really just this creepy man, and he has this internet persona on Bookstagram. So he's chatting with this Bookstagrammer, this like ideal perfect woman, and he's like, she doesn't know who I am, like she knows me as this fake Charlie profile, but I know if she did know me and she was chained up in my house, like she would fall in love with me and we would be this like dream couple. It would all be great. So he stalks her over the internet and then in person, and we follow as he is kidnapping her and holding her hostage. And it is so scary, especially the fact that it takes place like over the book social media. Hi, that could happen to me. Are one of you a creepy stalker man? You never know. One of you out there could be that. This book definitely made me paranoid about it. Now, if you want a really, really extreme horror wreck, this is so graphic and so disturbing. It is Lovesick by John Athan. I absolutely loved this book. We're following this guy who is just so paranoid that his girlfriend is going to leave him, so he starts stalking her. He has absolutely no trust for her. He follows her everywhere to check up on her and make sure that she is not cheating on him or thinking about leaving him. And one day she has this infraction that he sees as punishable, so he starts punishing her for it. And this is the definition of creepy stalker POV. He's like justifying all of his actions kind of in a roundabout, manipulative, deluded, Joe Goldberg-esque kind of way. And it is so graphic. The violence in here, the weaponization of the things that he weaponizes against her, it is so intense. If you like extreme horror and you're looking for a stalker trope, this is the one. Jumping back into thrillers, we have Pretty Things by Janelle Brown. And this stalker story is like not your average because you don't really know why a lot of the things are happening for the majority of the book. The mystery of the story is finding out the why, but the what is kind of given to you up front. Our main character is this like con artist. She makes her money and makes her living and actually pays for her mother's cancer treatments by conning rich people, like weaseling her little way into their lives, stalking them, casing their house, making this whole profile about them, and then finding a way to get in on what they have, whether that is getting it out of the kindness of the rich people's hearts by like weaseling her way in and becoming a friend and then burning them, or stealing from them just outright. So we follow her on her latest case as she has targeted these rich people that she wants to take from. And we know that she's absolutely obsessed. Like, this kind of scheme is a little bit different from the past ones, but we don't know exactly why that is. And as we're reading, we're trying to figure out why. Now, this one is pretty long and pretty dense. It was more difficult to get through than any other book on this list. There's a lot of just like extra background information, and it doesn't have that same driving force as a lot of stalker stories have, but it also has a lot of nuance. So if you like a story with a little bit more depth to it, you would definitely enjoy Pretty Things. Next up, we have I Know Who You Are by Alice Feeney, and this one is crazy. It has that signature Alice Feeney twist that you will literally never guess in a million years. I had so much fun with this one. We are following a famous woman, and she is dealing with a stalker. And this is not just some crazed fan. It's someone who knows secrets about her, someone from her past. And we are following a dual perspective. We're following her. I believe her name is Amy, I think. If I remember that, I did remember that. That's how you know that I liked a book, is if I remember the main character's name. So Amy, our famous actress queen, we're following her, and then we're following the stalker who is out to release this secret. And there's murder in here. I believe like one of the things that's happening is that our main actress queen is like framed for a murder. So it's kind of giving Things We Do in the Dark vibes by Jennifer Hillier. If you like that one, you will definitely like this one. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. When you find out who is stalking her and why, I just have no words. That reveal, I was listening to this audiobook while I was taking a walk, and I literally stopped dead in my tracks. Alice Feeney is so good at pulling out that wild twist, and this is no exception. Next up, we have another recent read, and that is Shared by Two by, yet again, John Athan. I cannot get enough of this man's writing. I love it. And usually John Athan writes extreme horror. There are some scenes in here that are extreme, but I would say this is much more heavy-handed with the psychological horror than it is with like extreme gore and violence. There's a lot of that in the second half, but in the first half, I would say the first 60%, it is really heavily psychological, as we are reading about this horror author who has kind of changed up the genre that he's writing from. And one of his biggest fans is really, really upset about this. So he starts emailing about it. And when he isn't getting responses to his emails, he starts sending things physically in the mail to this author's home, which is already crossing a line, but then he starts stalking him and his family are in danger. So we watch him devolve into paranoia about this stalker who may or may not be outside. That is kind of the whole thing, is we don't know how serious this stalker situation is. We don't know if it's real or if our author is just going down this like horrifying paranoid mental health breakdown. It was so good. Such an easy 5-star. This is the best and most nuanced extreme horror that I've read from. Like, John Nathan just like really is doing it different than everyone else, and I wish every extreme horror author would take notes because this is absolutely phenomenal. And finally, the last book that I have to tell you guys about is my favorite book of the year right now, currently so far, and that is Full Brutal by Christopher Triana. Now, this is a Good For Her book. If I would have read this before I made my Good For Her top 12 video, which I will link above and below if you like a Good For Her trope, this would have definitely gone in that video. But since I already made it, I did want to shout it out in a top 12 Rex, and our Good For Her queen that we're following this book is quite the stalker as well, so I thought I would throw it in here. We are following Little Miss Kim. Perfect, adorable, rich, skinny, popular cheerleader, senior in high school, about to be the queen bee of the school, but she has a dark secret, and that is that she feels nothing. She's horribly depressed and spiraling, and she needs to just feel something. And what makes her happy, what brings her that little spark to fill the void, is ruining people's lives. So she stalks them, figures out what's the most dear to them, and either ruins their lives or ends their lives. And this is just an absolute Good For Her bloodbath. It's set in like late 90s, early 2000s, so it's very nostalgic, and it's such a cool juxtaposition to see like this girly girl who's on her flip phone with her sparkly cheerleader bow in her hair, all of a sudden like stabbing someone to death or like thinking about ruining someone's life. It's so good. It feels like not another teen movie and Texas Chainsaw Massacre like had a child. She is such a fun character to follow, and I think that is really what makes a stalker book shine, is if we kind of in a weird, twisted way want to see the stalker succeed. That is what happened with me and Joe Goldberg. I feel like a lot of people have experienced the Joe Goldberg effect watching the show. You're rooting for Joe. And that is exactly what's happening in Full Brutal. We are 100% on Kim's team, and we are just watching her as she rains havoc down upon her little town. So if you take any rec from this video, please let it be this. Although, do know, this is pretty intense horror, so look up all the trigger warnings, as you should for every intense book that I'm recommending on my channel. So that is it. Those are my top 12 stalker book recommendations. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you got a couple good recs from this video. Don't forget to go down below and check out Dossier's new diffusers. And if you like this video, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And don't forget to go to therapy and read a book this week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!